Hi, everyone. So,
All right,
welcome.
it is now live. You can go ahead.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Clarissa Kurtz, Coach Clarissa Kurtz. I am one of the productivity coaches at the Market Center, focused, have launched as well as focused on growth coaching. And today we are actually going to be covering make and receive offers. So for this one, this is power session number 9. So if you guys have your manuals, it is power session number 9. And let me see if I can get that link for you in case you're not sure. I'm going to put the link to download the manual in the chat box. So,
I just put the manual in the chat box.
oh, perfect. Thank you. Thanks so much. So, so we're gonna talk about making and receiving offers. So, just kind of a show of hands, has there anybody here had written offers or made offers at this time? Awesome. So that's probably Maribel. I'm gonna probably ask you some questions, and then for those others, not to worry. We're gonna kind of talk about that. And what I'm gonna be doing also through this session is kind of show you, and I think, oh, I had to log out. So I think I'm gonna, if I can get into zip forms, because it's been acting a little funny this morning. I will be showing you some zip forms contracts that has to do with making, not necessarily making offers, but the negotiating part of making and receiving offers. But we will see how that kind of plays out with zip forms right now. So what I will do is I will go ahead and jump on in, unless anyone has any questions from the previous Ignites that you guys covered. No one have any questions, comments? All right, no? You guys are a quiet group. So, but what I'll be talking about though is kind of the make and receive offer. So let me share my screen. Oh, nope, can't share. Robert.
Hold on, I'm setting it all up still. Hold on, sorry.
That's okay. So Robert, if you're not looking at the chat box, please look at the chat box now. Robert actually had put in the chat box, so you can download it. The manual, I'm going to reference the manual, but if you're like on just one laptop and not able to see both, totally understand. I'll just reference the pages. He also, as a reminder, there's going to be a few scripts that we won't be able to kind of cover today, or we'll kind of highlight today as far as what type of sample scripts you would be using when you're negotiating offers. So kind of doing that. So he has the Ignite scripts in the chat box, as well as the toolkit in there. So hopefully for those of you that just joined us, you see at least the 3 documents in the chat box. So
you have host control now, Clarissa.
Oh, okay. So now what I'll go in, and if you have any questions, feel free to either type them in the chat box, because I am able to take a look at what you're writing, or you can kind of just jump in. And since all of you are on mute, thank you. To unmute yourself, it's actually as easy as just pressing the space bar on your keyboard. So you can just quickly press the space bar, unmute, and then when you let go, it'll put you back on mute again. So let me share my screen. So are you all able to see my screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Great, thanks. So let me go into the PowerPoint. So make and receive offer, session number 9. Actually, as before we get started with that, I'm just kind of wanting to get a feel. How is your creating the habit of lead gen? Basically making a practice every day of focusing on your daily 10-4. So I just kind of want to hear comments from people. Again, this is a kind of the participating part. Is like, how are you doing progressing to make this a habit every day? Like the adding 10 people to your database, speaking with 10 people, writing notes, and previewing homes online. Anyone want to comment on that?
About the houses this week, I went out with Salma and Haiti to do virtual video that
Okay.
I still need to post on my Facebook, but I'm working on editing it.
Awesome.
And we want to do it like every week. And Haiti
Oh,
got the
good.
property, so I just tag along.
Okay. So that's great that you are previewing. So I'm just kind of, I'm assuming, Jenny, that you are entering the property.
Yes, we
Okay.
went into the property. We took a video with our phones, and I'm doing a video on that.
Okay.
Like it was fast because the property didn't have like a lot of like great, features to be
Mhm.
emphasizing on. Like the rooms were a little small, so I just took like a little like a fast walk through the house.
Okay. And what is the one thing that we need in order to enter the homes?
We need to send the PV form to the agent, seller's agent.
Yes. So that is one of the things during this COVID time and this with the COVID rules. And we're going to kind of talk about that too, especially with making and receiving offers. When you enter a home, every home, you have to sign a PV. I would highly recommend that when, just curious, show of hands, how many of you are kind of in a launch with a launch coach, have a launch coach? Is that all, everybody? Okay. Kyle, do you have a launch coach?
I'm actually still in the process of waiting for California to get my license and testing thing working. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you're jumping in. That's good.
Yeah.
So with a launch coach, I would highly recommend sending copies of that PV if the coach would like you to have it, because it is a contract, to make sure you're sending that over to just a copy to your coach. So ask your coach. For those of you that are in my group, I do want to know that you're entering properties. So just go ahead and send me a copy of the PV. Okay. So that's great. Anyone else? How is the lead generation part? Like talking to 10 people and then also following up by adding them to your database. I would like to hear 2 different people.
Clarissa, this is Aaron. I made the kind of like a short video. I put it on my Facebook and LinkedIn. Also, I added probably over maybe 35 to 40 people. I talked to at least 20 people, passed them information. So excited, lots of business cards that came out. I'm leaving them in the restaurants and places, people, they can pick them up. So that's been so far since last week.
Oh, good. Awesome. And Haiti?
Yeah, I was gonna say I've been working on my database the most, hitting 10 people a day, just talking to them. I've noticed people don't really reach out to you when they do want to sell or buy. They wait until you reach out to them.
That's actually a great aha, right?
Yeah.
And this is one thing that I've learned over the years. It is even though you make an announcement. So how many of you at least made an announcement to your sphere, friends or family, that you're in real estate, either with a post or with a call. If you haven't
Yeah.
yet, I would recommend that. But what I have found that it's not their job to remember you're in real estate. It's your responsibility to remind them that you are. I want you to write that down. It's not their job to remember that you're in real estate. It's actually your responsibility to remind them that you are. And especially with your friends and family, it's gonna take about like 7 to 12 impressions of associating real estate with you, because before real estate, they probably knew you as a different role or something else. So it really is you kind of reaching out, reminding them, or them receiving something from you, some sort of touch, reminding them that you are in real estate. So great job. Thank you for sharing regarding that habit. Remember that it doesn't really feel like a habit. It actually has to be a discipline first in order to make it a habit. So it's gonna be intentional and purposeful to really get into the flow of doing this daily 10-4. And it's progress, not perfection when doing that. All right. So as far as the offer is concerned, when you actually are showing property with a buyer or even with a seller, represent a seller, it's all about getting to this process of an offer. So the process of moving from a buyer agreement to actually getting into this aspect of submitting an offer. And this is actually kind of a general flow chart of the offer process. So the offer process actually begins with the buyer makes an offer. So what is the contract? What is the main contract that we used for the buyer to make an offer? What is the name of it?
Purchase agreement.
Yes, the residential purchase agreement, or the acronym is the RPA. So the RPA. I'm not going to go over the purchase contract or how to fill that out, but that is just one document. And then a lot of times there's other documents that you need in order to submit an offer. If you don't know, I don't know if Broker Bob is going to be doing Contracts 101 later this year, but there is in our Metro, YouTube Metro channel, the Contracts 101 playlist. So let me kind of show you really quick. Can you guys still see my screen? Is that a yes? Okay. So if you go to the Metro YouTube playlist, first off, I would highly recommend subscribing to that so that every time that there is a recording, we record our team meetings, Ignite, such as this, you will get a notification, but you will see in here a playlist. If you go to playlist, Contracts 101. And there's actually two parts of the purchase contract. So if you're talking about really learning about the purchase contract, I highly recommend going to part 1 and part 2. This was from July. Again, and I'm not sure because I don't know if Broker Bob's still on, but if there is going to be a Contracts 101, it would be next month, but don't quote me. I don't know if it's on the schedule yet, but this is a way to kind of catch up and watch that. So then when the buyer submits the offer, the seller will respond one of 3 ways. They will accept the offer just as is in all the terms, and then that begins the contracts to close process. They'll either reject the offer, meaning they really don't want to entertain this offer at all. So then they reject the offer. But I want you to notice that it says buyer's agent this is where the buyer's agent will contact the listing agent to learn more. Because just because the seller rejects that initial offer doesn't mean that they aren't entertaining offers. So this is where you start really learning to communicate with the listing agent, the other party, building that rapport, and also kind of learning like what the terms that the seller may be looking for. And then finally, the last one is counter offer. So what that means is that the seller wants to counter just a few terms that is submitted in the offer, and then they will kind of use a form, and then this is where the negotiation can begin. That's kind of the general diagram, and then we're gonna kind of jump in a little bit more as far as what it would look like for the buyer's agent, and then what it will look like for the seller's agent. So just curious, during this time of the offer process, what emotions do the buyers and sellers have in this stage? Maribel, you're on mute still.
They get anxiety. They like start getting scared if they're gonna accept it or not.
Yeah, anxiety. What else? What other emotions can come up?
It can be excitement as well, because they think that, wow, if they accept it, now we have to prepare to move on.
Yeah, exactly. They can be excited at the same time as having a little bit of anxiety, right? Like it's that just little feeling of anticipation, like, is this going to be accepted? Is this not? So there can be a lot for both parties. So we know that, go ahead, Cal. I saw that you.
Yeah. Sometimes the clients, especially the buyers, they like to move a little bit too fast. It's almost like dancing with two left feet. So it's important that they be in sync, and you inform them as to what may happen next, because sometimes they're trying to skip way ahead of the game. They're on step 10 and you're only on step 1.
Yeah. So they get impatient, right? So then they just want to like get it done and things like that. Where this is where we as professionals get to help pace them. So it is important that the emotions are high, are they not, for the buyers and sellers? Yes. So as professionals, part of our duty during this time too is to almost to remain neutral, to remain calm, like reassuring. You definitely want to be reassuring, but also in control, and communicate as much as possible with the client. So as professional representative, don't get caught up on their excitement, their anxiety. And if you start feeling like that, take a step back, calm yourself down, regain control for yourself so that you can be that level-headed person that they need for them during this time. And this is also when part 2, this make and receive offers is only one part of the negotiations throughout the entire transaction process. Negotiations they can start here, but they definitely do not end just at these offer, just to kind of make you aware. So any questions about this overall? And then I'm gonna kind of towards the end, I will show you how this would look like or translate in zip forms. As far as like contracts are concerned, I'm just going to show you like what forms to use. So the first step is what happens if you are representing a buyer. So you definitely want to prepare writing the offer, write the offer, and then present the offer to the listing agent. So to kind of help you prepare, on page 13 of the manual, and if you don't have the manual in front of you, definitely jot down notes. Page 13 is kind of a very generic checklist. is first off is obtaining the pre-approval letter. You actually have to create a CMA, a comparative market analysis. Why is that part important? To prepare as a buyer's agent for the buyer.
Let them know what the market trends are to keep them informed about the current market where they're buying at. And that also plays a part in what type of offer you want to make.
Correct. So thank you, Cal. So that's what the CMA is for. And you want to do that for every offer you write. And it should be done before or as you prepare to write the offer. You want to review, next step is review the tax records. So that would be the CRS tax records of the property. And there's a couple of things. There's a couple of things I like to highlight or like to check in the tax records. Let me see if I can get in here. So I'm just logging in to Paragon. It's being a little slow. So I'm just gonna just pull a property. So yeah, I'll pull this one. So actually, besides the CRMLS, I would highly advise you as the buyer's agent, pull up the MLS of the property. Because what I like to check, first off, I like to make a PDF of the agent version of this. The reason being is then I can make sure that the listing that I'm writing the offer, or I'm sorry, when I write the offer, the listing, I have the exact listing as it was at the moment I write the offer. This doesn't happen very often, but occasionally this changes sometimes when you are in escrow. So I like to make sure I know, like for instance, the commission, who the agents are, the comments and the confidential remarks. I start looking at other items on here, such as if this is a short sale, equipment, which is like appliances, if there's HOA. So I start looking at all of this. This is part of writing the offer. Then you want to go into what I said, the tax records. And to get into the tax records from Paragon, underneath the picture, you'll see a kind of a yellow icon with a black, looks like a black key. So like right here, that's the CRS tax data. If I click on that, I like to also note this as well. I like to make sure the property address, it also gives the APN number. You're going to need that when writing the offer. Also, I like to confirm the property address, especially if it's like a condo such as this. So here it says apartment 6. So I want to make sure I match it on my offer. I also like to make sure the land use or the property type. That's important too because of lending for the buyers. So this, for instance, it says residential, but the land use is condominium. This is actually important to lenders to know that this property is a condo versus a single family home. There's a little bit of difference and some different processes for the lender when they deal with condos. Then I also like to look at who is the current owner. And what I'm really looking for is this owner an entity versus individuals. So individuals like a husband or wife or a single person, their name would only show up here. But if it's an entity, you'll see like this one, for instance, this is a trust. So this is going to be important because I have to add additional addendums to the offer in order to make this a very complete and clean offer. So this would be, for instance, this is a trust. So an addendum, an advisory has to be added, such as the trust advisory to the offer. And then because it's a trust or an entity, I also have to add the RCSD, the representative capacity disclosure with the offer. So again, this is just giving me overall as far as is this a unique property in order to add this information. So that's kind of the tax records. Then I also like to do is also when looking at the MLS, I want to make sure it still says active. So when because the properties are kind of moving very fast, especially with kind of anything below median price in San Diego, I definitely want to make sure it's active. And one of the things to prepare an offer is talking to the listing agent. This is where you really want to ask some questions as far as, is the property still available? Is there any terms that the seller is looking for? So we want to start building rapport and gather as much information about the seller and the property. So let me kind of pull out some questions that you can have. Just a second. And I'll give you a copy of these questions. So these are kind of a sample list of questions to ask the listing agent as you prepare to write an offer. How many offers do you have in hand? Are you representing any of the offers? Are any of those offers cash? How close, if there are offers, how close are they asking price, or maybe are they over? How many agents have said they're going to write an offer? When will you be reviewing offers with the seller? What are your clients hoping to net for the property or the price? Why are your clients moving, or where are they moving to? When do they need to be there? How long do your clients need the escrow to be? And you can always go to, I have some great options for escrow and title. Is it all right if we choose the title or escrow? If no, then what would you like me to put in there for escrow and title? And you could even indicate, I want to make this as solid as possible in order to get my offers, my client's offer accepted. What would it take? Cal, you had a question?
Yes, I don't want to put a kink in your line, so you don't have to elaborate on my question a lot if you don't want to. Dealing with rude agents, realtors, when you call them to have a conversation with them, sometimes you may get, cut to the chase, or, what do you want? You must be new, asking me all these questions. You have any recommendations on maybe how we can proceed with asking them this information?
Does anyone have suggestions before I make mine? How would you proceed if an agent is kind of being short? Now I'm gonna kind of ask you this: do you think with properties right now, especially if it's a very well-priced offer or well-priced property, do you think they're getting a lot of questions and offers?
Yes.
In this market. So I might not ask all these questions.
Okay.
I would stick to probably the first few. Just curious, has anyone do you have any offers in hand? If so, like any cash, or how close are they?
Okay, thank you.
And down, and it's like, you know what, I just want to make a strong offer for my client and just make sure that it's as clean as possible. What are some absolute things that the seller needs to have?
Okay,
So we don't have to keep going back and forth. I don't want to waste your time.
thank you.
Welcome.
What I
Any
say
other-
is I say, what price do I have to put in for you to accept my offer, or for them to accept the offer?
Gotcha. Got it. So that's good information. Now, is that information that we share with the buyer? Absolutely. But I would also compare it with the CMA. Right. So I like that question. Any other questions? And let me see if I can just copy this. So I'm pasting the questions. It's going to be a little lengthy on the chat box. If you're not aware, in the chat box, you're going to find that you can actually save the chat at the end of the, just before we close out. So I did copy and paste all the questions in the chat box. One thing I also like to, this is actually to prepare the offer. I like to ask these questions of the lender even before I show properties, because the more information I know about the lender and the more communication I have up front with the lender, it's easier to kind of pivot and when writing the offer. So these are some questions I would ask the lender in order to prepare writing an offer. And again, I would do this like straight up right when they get pre-approved with a lender. And before you write the offer, because it really tells you what their financial situation is and how to write the offer. And something is, for the most part, is my client pre-approved or pre-qualified, that I would say make sure you have a pre-approval. The highest one is the best type of pre-approval is a direct underwriting pre-approval. Are there any contingencies on their loan, such as do they need to close a current home in order to close the home? How much or what percent is their down payment? That is absolutely key. You do need to know that in order to write the offer. Are there immediate red flags on their file? Right now, that question is so key to make sure you know what obstacles the buyer could come in place throughout the transaction. We've seen an uptick of cancellations this year, not only due to COVID, but just buyers' different financial situations. So I would highly recommend that. How quickly can you get the appraisal report by? This has to do with the appraisal contingency period. So this is when you want to ask them. And what is your average closing days? Basically, what's close of escrow? How soon can you close? And then also the loan contingency. That is the contingency period in the offer. What is their time frame? And what is the maximum interest rate for purchasing? This, and what is the max points they will pay? This is very important to ask because that is part of paragraph 3 of the purchase contract. So you want to make sure that you're asking that information as well, because you will want to fill that in to protect your buyer from an uptick in interest rates. So you'll definitely want to make sure you ask that up front. So any questions about that as well?
So we can call the lender with the permission of our client?
Yes.
Thank
And
you.
I would advise you to do that right in the beginning. Like as a best practice, I like to, especially because of COVID restrictions, highly encourage you to have that pre-approval before you show properties. So a lot of listings now are even asking for it, especially if the seller's still in the home. So You want to make sure they're viable. And once you have that pre-approval, let them know that you want to reach out to their lender to start building that rapport so that when you write the offer, it will be smooth. It will also let you know upfront if the lender's being a little bit non-responsive in the beginning stages. That kind of is a little bit of a red flag to say how communicative they're going to be during escrow when their timeline matters. You really want to start knowing what that communication is going to look like upfront. You really don't want to be surprised when there's timelines and the buyer's money involved.
How important is it for a client to be flexible with choosing a lender?
I would ask them to choose a lender before we write an offer.
Okay.
Because in the offer, it does state, so say they have a pre-approval letter, they submit the offer. In the offer on paragraph 3 in page 2, it does state if the buyer decides to change their mind about their financing, and that includes going to another lender, seller doesn't have to comply.
Let's say if they're shopping around right now for a mortgage.
Correct. So they need to pick the lender before they write an offer.
Okay.
They cannot shop when they open escrow.
Okay, thank you.
So if they're shopping, they shop before they write any offers. They are not shopping when they're in the offer because that puts their money at risk. It does say in the contract if they change any of their financial kind of what they put in the offer, the seller doesn't have to comply. They can cancel. It gives the right the seller to cancel the contract.
Okay, thank you.
So, and again, in this market with low inventory, does that make them a strong buyer or not a strong buyer?
Oh no.
If they're shopping around.
The weakest link.
Yeah. And the listing agents would know that. So make sure you know that. The other thing, initial questions to ask the client is making sure you know the client. Who's going to be the buyers? I've seen where buyer will give you a pre-approval, but they actually, and it's like but then they're actually talking to maybe their parents or a third party to be part of it once they're in escrow. So make sure it's very, very clear who the parties are and it's very solid. Also asking them how much to put the down payment. And I like to ask the client this because I want to make sure what they say and what the lender says match up. And then you will need to know what they need to put down for the initial deposit. That is part of the down payment, but that initial deposit is going to be upfront when they have an accepted offer. So additionally, it's 1 to 3%. You will want to know just some main things, what appliances they would like. So I've seen where there's more appliances when you go through the property versus what is listed on the MLS. So you can still have your clients ask that. When would you like your offer to expire? By default, it is 3 days, but they can have it expire sooner than that. And I would say the last thing is home warranty. Ask them about home warranty if they want to maybe ask the seller for home warranty, or would they like to make it, especially if you know there's competition, maybe the buyers decide to buy it themselves and not ask the seller to buy it. So, you can talk to them about that. I would say that's one that's not on this list, but ask them about home warranty. So those are some kind of initial questions on parties you will want to ask. And would it help to ask these ahead of time before you write an offer? Absolutely. So get it as soon as possible. I think that would be the case. All right. Oops.
I have a question, Clarissa.
Yes.
Is a buyer allowed to put in more than one offer on different homes, like at the same time?
I would not recommend that. Hold on just a second. Instead, I would ask them to choose, because they can obligate them to both offers if they happen to have it at the same time. And the thing is, if you would have to disclose to the listing agent that they are putting another offer and another property at the same time.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
So what I would do instead is have the say the buyer is like trying to decide between two properties. I would ask them, which one's your number one? We're going to go after that one first, but we're going to shorten the expiration date. Instead of waiting 3 days, maybe we'll just say 1.5 days or 2 days. And if they don't respond after 2 days, or the seller doesn't respond, then technically it's expired. So then the buyer can submit the offer on the other property. Or you could just give the seller to respond on that first property 24 hours to at least respond. And if they don't, technically they can move on.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome. Any other questions? Oh, one
Clarissa,
question.
how we create the PDF version of the MLS for the buyer?
So I would not give the MLS version of the buyer. That's just the print. But I would not you're giving the client version of the MLS to the buyer. You are not giving them the agent version with the confidential remarks.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can actually just email them this version and that will give them the client version. But remember, clients never, ever, ever get this agent version because it actually shows the listing agent. It shows the confidential remarks. Sometimes they have codes. You never want to do that.
How that one can be sent to the client?
You can email it to them.
Okay, when you email it, that automatically change the format for them, correct?
Yes,
okay.
It will only email. With the email there, you cannot choose, like you can do PDF, but it will not, you will not see agent version on here. Okay.
Thank you.
Welcome. Yes. Any other questions? All right. Now, one more thing. Do not forget, or actually I'll show this later. So there are some buyer offer objections on page 17. So on page 17, there's kind of couple sample buyer offers objections that you would need to practice with your buyer. So 2 common questions is when the buyer wants the seller to make repairs up front, right? They want to put that in the offer. There's actually a script for that in this page 17 of this session. And then also another objection. What do you think is another objection from a buyer when they make an offer? I'll probably ask Maribel. What is another objection a buyer comes up with when they start writing an offer? Anyone?
I'm sorry, repeat that. I'm sorry.
What is a buyer objection when writing an offer?
A buyer objection writing an offer.
Mostly they want to write lower offers or like get money back.
Mm-hmm. Either money back or make a low ball offer.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So there is a script on here on page 17 to handle that objection. And also, what would be kind of a great tool or resource we can show the buyer about what's happening in the market. So I would recommend showing them the list price to sales price ratio. So in Ashley stats, what that is what is the percent from when it was listed to when what the amount actually sold was. So you can get those stats and for San Diego, or even if you're familiar with the area of what the list price to sales price ratio is, and you can let them know, like, Mr. Buyer, the list price to sales price in this area is 98%. However, you're offering 6% below asking. So do you think that that puts you in a strong position if the seller, since I let you know that the listing agent actually has received other offers? So kind of being mindful of that, but letting them know. And there is a script for those buyer objections. So those are kind of two common things, is that, that cashback or credit, they call it buyer's credit towards closing costs, that really is the case. And even having that conversation during buyer consultation might be even helpful too, to help prepare them of how to approach writing offers in our market. All right, any quick questions on that? And then finally, presenting the offer. The last part is presenting the offer. Now, besides presenting the offer, definitely have that email, but what some common practice is writing what we call buyer love letters. Anyone heard of that?
Yes.
So what is a buyer love letter? For somebody, hopefully somebody who hasn't participated or hasn't answered, who would like to share, what is a buyer love letter?
I can share if you like. It's when the agent will present to the seller a letter from the buyer to explain, I guess, give some background information on them and why they would like to buy the house, why they love the house, and something about them that might attract the seller to choose them over someone else.
Yes, so that is a buyer love letter. However, recently, in light of what's being resurrected is the Fair Housing Act, those love letters are kind of being discouraged to be reviewed because it could potentially be discriminatory. So this, not so much for the buyer's agent, but when you're a listing agent, I'm going to kind of re-emphasize this, you really want to explain love letters to the sellers of your listings. But for a buyer's agent, that is a possibility. I would say as a buyer's agent, I would avoid that. I would not necessarily write encourage the buyer to write a love letter, because I don't want it as an agent to be kind of seen as kind of a Fair Housing Act violation. That is actually a serious violation. So what I would suggest instead is, again, that's why talking to the listing agent, building rapport, whether it's over the phone or maybe they don't have time to pick up, so maybe start building rapport even through text message, is kind of writing a summary in your email when you're presenting an offer like this. So you're emailing the listing agent with your offer that you write in zip forms. And I don't know if you can see this. Let me just. So basically, it's just outlining the offer. So, hi, Emma, I'm delighted to present my client's offer for you. You're listing at 1234 Main Street. Here's the offer summary. And basically just summarizing the highlights or the strong points of your offer. The offer price is this. EMD, basically that's the initial deposit, is this. You know, type of financing, this is a conventional loan with 5% down. You know, if you shorten contingency periods, you can write those in. You know, the loan, appraisal, buyer inspections, those are the three main ones. And anything else, you know, you could say, you know, 21-day escrow. And if you have any other questions, don't hesitate to call, right? Or what I like to say is, you know, the buyers are really excited and would love to make this work, and then actually maybe outline or highlight your professionalism. Just say that, you know, I will make sure that we make this a smooth transaction as possible to gain a win-win for everyone involved, right? So that way you are kind of highlighting, but you're just kind of keeping it to the key highlighted points or strong points of the offer. And it just kind of summarizes it up front. So this would be part of the email, and then attached is the offer. Okay. So that's what I would represent that. And when you email the listing agent, please do a follow-up of your offer. Either text them, leave them a message. I probably text them just to make sure, to say, hey, just want to let you know that I submitted the offer on, again, tell them the property because they may have more than one listing. Hope we can work together. So again, kind of maintaining that rapport you started building with the listing agent. So questions on that?
Where can we find the format for that summary page?
I will email you those questions and then that summary. So if you guys, you know what, I'm gonna have you email me. So I'm gonna put my email address. So then I will email you that. If those of you that are part of my coaching program, you already have access to this. So that's my email. Just email me saying that you want the questions and this email summary for making and receiving offers. Okay. All right. So now we're going to switch gears, and now we're going to say, okay, what is it going to look like representing sellers? So receiving the offer, gather information about the buyer as much as possible, and then present your offer to your client where you allow them to reach a decision. Now, so I'm on page 20 on the manual. Is first off, if you are the listing agent and you receive an offer through email, please acknowledge receipt with the buyer. Just saying, offer received, thank you, we'll be reviewing. As a listing agent, make that a standard of practice to acknowledge all offers received. You do need to collect all offers, and all offers, just for our office, will need to be uploaded into Command for compliance. All offers that you receive will need to be uploaded. So be mindful that you are somehow organizing them in your email, because and letting your transaction coordinator know how many offers you're receiving. You have to track the number of offers you receive. Now, if you're following up on offers, like there's a lot of agents that say a verbal, always follow up with those agents to make sure that you're going to be seeing for offer. Then you're reviewing the offer for accuracy and completeness. And then there's actually a checklist of reviewing the offer. So on page 20 of the manual, making sure the address is correct, you know, the price, earnest money, What is the loan amount, if there is a loan amount? Time of acceptance. Is there a pre-approval letter attached? Or if it's all cash, did the offer, does the offer have what's called proof of funds? And basically the financing terms, the contingency dates, and close of escrow date. One key thing that most agents do not complete is on page 1 of the purchase contract, of the RPA. There's a section in there that actually asks for the DRE number of both the listing side and the selling side. So you do need to make sure that part is complete. It is the part, I believe it's paragraph 2 of the purchase contract. It asks who is the listing firm and what is their DRE number. And then it asks who's the listing agent and the DRE number. And then the same thing for the buyer side. Who is the, they call it selling firm, I believe, but who is the firm representing the buyer, their DRE number, and the buyer's agent and their DRE number. So if your information is missing as the listing agent, keep in mind you do need to have a counter offer to make sure that part is complete. So you cannot skip that DRE number. So just be mindful that section is complete. And just on the flip side, if you are the buyer's agent helping write the offer, make sure you look it up. You may need to look up that information on the DRE website. Okay, so you do need to look up that information on the DRE website. It does not list the broker DRE on the MLS. Now, there's a couple of ways. If you have a listing in this market and you price it at market, do you think that you'll get more than one offer? Is there a good chance you get more than one offer if you price your listing well?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. Yes, right? So it can be a little bit overwhelming. So you can say that the seller will review offers at a certain time. If you do say that, you can put it on the MLS, but that would be under confidential remarks. Okay, so if you want to say seller will review all offers by a certain date, just let it know. You do have to present all offers to the seller, regardless of when you receive the offer. Okay. There's a couple of things in zip forms. Kind of jump around. Oops.
I have a question for you, Clarissa, while we pull this up. Is that okay?
Yes.
So is it okay for an agent to tell you, or if you're a listing agent, can you tell someone we will review all offers on Sunday at 5 o'clock?
Yes, as long as you're consistent with that.
Okay.
However, I have seen agents say that and then come to find out they have accepted an offer before then.
Wow.
So I wouldn't wait in this market to present offers, because you never know, they could be receiving offers. So let me see if this will come up. Oh no, zip forms is not working. I guess I'll ask I wanted to show there's actually a good tool in zip forms for you as the listing agent to help you kind of organize the offers. And it's called, the form is called Summary of Offers. and I kind of wanted to show it. Let me see if I can pull up zip forms in another platform. Just a second. Let me see if I can pull it up. But it's called Summary of Offers, where it will by column, you can kind of compare different offers at the same time. And it can be a little bit easier to present to your clients. Ooh, there it is. Slowly but surely coming up. So I would write down in zip forms, it's called Summary of Offers or Summary of Offer. There's kind of two versions. There's one where it says summary, I believe Summary of Offer, where it's just for one offer. Yep, summary of multiple offers. So this one works well with multiple offers. And then there, so this one, actually, let me show you this one first. There's one called Summary of Offer, and make sure you're looking at the RPA and not the RIPA. So this is Summary Offer. This is actually really good practice to kind of see. Let me kind of open it up to kind of see a summary of what one offer looks like. And what it does is that you can't really fill it in here, but I would print it out where, and this is good practice reviewing offers to kind of see what are the kind of highlighted terms. So here it tells you the price, but it also tells you the paragraph it's found in. And then you can say, is this all cash? Initial deposit, increased deposit, what's the loan amount? What's the type of loan here? Contingency dates. The agent name, that's the buyer's agent, and then the buyer's company name. And then other terms, like if there's any credits that the buyer's asking for, if there's nothing about home warranty here, so maybe I would write down if there was a home warranty being asked, things like that. Any terms. This is a good way to summarize your and one offer. So it's called Summary of Offer, RPA. Just make sure it says RPA and not RIPA. The other one, no. The other one is called the Summary of Multiple Offers. And what it does, it kind of puts four columns, kind of asking the same things. So here, this one, I think you can, as a listing agent, fill out. And this would be really well of trying to so here you can say offer 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so up to 5 offers. But here you can have almost a comparison side by side of the basic, the highlighted terms. Now keep in mind, this might not be everything. So where I put other offer terms, so here, so say I have offer 1 and offer 2. Here you put the agent's name and then the firm name. But what I like to say is like number 1, buyers, John and Jane, Jones, and then I'll say other things, home warranty, up to 600 plus, washer, dryer, kitchen, fridge, etc., etc. Does that make sense? Then I go to offer 2. Like if there's other terms I want to highlight besides this. Does everyone see that? This is a really good way of kind of organizing all those offers. And again, as a listing agent, you kind of do need to present all offers. You can highlight like the top ones, but it is your fiduciary duty to present all offers and have a discussion with your seller. What I like to do is present, as far as presenting offers, I like to actually print them all out. It's kind of easier, and then kind of review the offers, kind of organize it and review the offers with the seller. But it's not the one that they're gonna necessarily sign. So I would kind of recommend that as far as especially receiving multiple offers if you're a listing agent. Any questions? So I had talked about, actually, let me go back into Zip Forms. Let me go back to Zip Forms. So say that the listing agent, you as the listing agent, receive multiple offers and you want to, the seller wants to counter like 2 of the offers, right? They receive 5 offers. They don't want to counter everything. They want to just counter 2 offers. That's within their right. They don't have to counter all the offers. They can just choose which offers to counter. There is an actual specific order that you need to do that in. Sorry, it's moving very, very slow. So if the seller wants to counter 1 offer, only 1 offer, the acronym is SCO. SCO. So if the seller's counting only 1 offer, you have to use the seller counter offer, and you got to start numerically. So you start with seller counter offer 1. So you start with that. And then as a listing agent, you're only listing terms that the seller wants to change from the original offer. So not just purchase price, maybe they want to change the contingency dates. Maybe they decide they don't want to offer home warranty, or they want to change the amount, kind of just the ones that are different than everything else that they accept. It's kind of being very slow. So this is what the seller counter offer number 1 looks like. This is you write today's date, or the date that you're writing the offer. So say today's date. Say this is a counter to the purchase agreement, dated, and then the date that the offer, that it states that the offer was prepared by. So on the top of page 1 of the RPA, on the upper left corner, you're going to say, see date prepared. That is the date you use of the offer. So say that you received it yesterday, or it was prepared yesterday. You make sure you fill in the buyer's name and the seller's name. And then the terms is essentially just writing out the different terms, or the terms that the seller wants to change. Now, what I like to do is to make it easier. I like to have the original offer or the purchase contract in front of me. And if each part of the offer has a paragraph number, it might have a paragraph letter. So for instance, the purchase price, I think, is in paragraph 1. But the home warranty is actually, let me see if I could get this right. I want to say maybe paragraph 7. Oh shoot, I don't know the numbers. Anyways, I was trying to go off memory. So, but I would like to reference the paragraph number and then the basically where that term is, and then change the term. And let me show you what I mean. So if purchase price, say they don't want to pay for home warranty. So it would be RPA 7, and I'm making this up. I don't know if this is the actual number, but it'd probably be like 7D10 seller not to pay for home warranty. Does that make sense? So then I just reference the number. So then so say the next one would be RPA, and this is common to 14B, buyer, inspection, contingency, to be 8 days after acceptance. And again, I'm just going off the top of my head. I try to stick to the same verbiage as the offer. I don't want to change it too much. Does everyone see kind of what I'm doing there? I like to reference what's going to be changed. And then the expiration date, and as a, because we're part of Keller Williams Metro, we do need to add at least one, we have to incorporate one of our local disclosures, and that is the KWSD or San Diego Metro ABAD. It's the affiliated business arrangement disclosure. If you are listing, you definitely want to include that in your counter offers. Okay. Again, if the offer is missing your DRE number or the broker DRE number, you do need to state that in the seller counter offer. So you do need to state that in the seller counter offer. Now here under the expiration, you see it's by the 3rd day. You can make it expire sooner, but make sure on paragraph 2 that you write your name. So it would be your name as the listing agent that is authorized to receive any signed acceptance on the counter. Keep in mind that in order for this counter, just keep in mind, is part of the original offer. So whichever is accepted, the seller does need to sign the original offer. Okay. Then it's marketing to other buyers and sellers. So here the seller signs it, and again, this is only one offer. If the seller's only countering one offer. So the seller signs this, and then when the buyer signs this, then once you receive it back as the listing agent, then you can initial confirmation of acceptance. Let me kind of show you also as well, when you counter on page 10 of the offer. So let me see if I can find an offer here. This is a listing form. So let me just go to the RPA really quick. On page 10 of the purchase contract, there is a checkbox above the seller's signature on page 10 where it says subject to counter offer. As the listing agent, you have to check that. You got to mark that because the seller still signs the offer, but you got to mark that to make sure to indicate that there is a seller counter offer. So right on paragraph 32, oops, hold on. Paragraph 32, make sure you check this box as the listing agent because it's saying subject to counter offer and then the date of the counter offer when it was written. Everyone see that? So this is important. This just lets escrow know that there is a counter offer. All right. Now, what happens is, what if the seller wants to counter one offer? So the counter offer is seller multiple counter offer. And again, number one, it always starts in order. So this looks very similar to the first multiple counter or the first counter offer with a slight difference. So here's the seller multiple counter offer. Here you do have to put number one. Okay. So as the listing agent, you are saying number one. Again, the date of the counter, the purchase, you don't need to check the box here. And then this is the date of the purchase agreement written. And the buyer's name and the terms. I want you to write notes on this one. The seller multiple counter offers are not necessarily going to be the same for each offer you are countering. Everyone get that?
I didn't.
So what I mean is, say offer number one has offer number one and offer number two may have different terms on them. It doesn't mean that the seller is going to counter the exact same terms.
Gotcha.
So there can be a difference. So that would mean that you, as the listing agent, may have to write a couple of seller multiple counter offers on this file, or a few multiple counter offers. Now, again, you can add addendums. You have the expiration on paragraph 3. But keep in mind, and again, that's your name, keep in mind that if the buyer accepts this offer, it doesn't mean that their offer, that the seller accepted it. So what I mean by that is, if there's 2 multiple counter offers out there and buyer 1 accepts it and also buyer 2, it actually depends which one that the seller signs down here. So it's not a fully accepted offer until the seller signs it back saying that the seller is accepting this multiple counter offer. So buyer has to sign here, and then the seller has to confirm acceptance by selecting it here. And that's the difference with the multiple offers.
I have another question.
Yes, who's talking? Sorry.
Me, sorry.
Who's me?
Can you counter offer a counter offer?
Yes.
Okay.
So let me go through that. So each one of these, the regular counter offer and the buyer, or I'm sorry, and the seller multiple counter offer, you will notice where it says acceptance, there's a check box there. We'll say, okay, maybe the seller's asking for $550, but the buyer doesn't want to go that high. So then the buyer accepts this offer, but they have to check this box, subject to attached counter offer, and then it's for the buyer counter offer, it's then BCO1. Okay, again, it goes in numerical order. So be seller counter offer 1, buyer counter offer 1. And then it can go back and forth. Seller counter offer 2, buyer counter offer 2. I would, as a standard of practice, I would not go beyond 4 counter offers. Because if you start kind of just having like 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, it just gets so convoluted for escrow, then they don't know which one it is. At that point, the buyer might as well just redraft the entire offer. That makes sense? Otherwise, the paperwork, as far as like beyond 4 different counter offers that is part of an offer, just gets really convoluted. So yes, the buyer can then counter the seller counteroffer with a buyer counteroffer 1. So we'll take a look at that. So there is no buyer multiple counteroffer 1, it's just buyer counteroffer. Okay, so it starts with 1. Where'd it go? Oh. And then what you would do here, the only difference, the look on here, just taking a moment, is that you have to acknowledge what the buyer counter offer, what it's countering. So that's in the first paragraph. Just take a moment. But it looks very similar to the seller counter offer. Okay. Anyway. Okay, so if we take a look at this, you got to acknowledge what is this counteroffer for. So you just have to make sure, is it a seller counteroffer and then 1, or seller multiple counteroffer 1? This is the date that you write your buyer counteroffer, and then you're acknowledging the date of the seller counteroffer. So for instance, maybe the buyer agent, if I'm looking ahead, is the 19th, and they want a seller counteroffer 1. That is the 18th. And then the terms here that you list is different than the seller counteroffer. So you're not retyping everything the seller counter is. You're only changing the terms that the buyer to do different than the seller counter. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. And then there is an expiration date, and the buyer's agent definitely needs to put their name and the expiration date on the buyer counter offers. So don't forget that as an agent, make sure that your name is where the expiration is, as a rule of thumb. Okay? So then it kind of goes back and forth that way. And then finally, whatever is accepted, say that the buyer makes this counter offer and the seller accepts it, they sign, and then the confirming party has to initial down below. So say the seller accepts this, buyer's agent receives this counter back, then it's either the buyer's agent or the buyer that then initials this after the fact. Everyone following along? Yes? No?
I keep
Maybe
getting
so?
disconnected.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. So, well, the great thing is, Erin, is that this is being recorded on the Metro page. So you can go back.
Yes. Thank you.
Welcome. So kind of any quick questions about using zip forms and how the counter offers work? No? All right. So, oh, let me show you one thing on the offer as a agent, as the listing agent. Very, very important, especially in this market. And if you receive multiple offers, you do need to sign or initial a section of page 10 on every offer. So as the listing agent, there's a section for you. Down at the very bottom of page 10 of the RPA, it says presentation of offer. You put your initials here and the date. I would say probably the time of every offer you presented. Again, as a listing agent, it is your fiduciary to present all offers to the seller. Now, if the seller decides to totally reject the offer, they do need to initial here. Then that means there's no counter offer made. They are outright rejecting this entire offer. And it was rejected by what date that they rejected by. So I want you to track, this is going to be very important to track when you initial all of this, because that is meaning you acknowledge you presented the offer to the client. And this needs to be on all offers. Now, if the seller totally accepts this offer, no counter, saying, you know what, we just want to move forward, then the seller signs paragraph 32, and then there is no check boxes. So they just sign here, and as the listing agent, you will be signing here in this box as well. Okay. So page 10 of the offer is very important for you as the listing agent to understand. Now, when there is an acceptance, or if the counter offers are being accepted, keep in mind the original offer. You'll notice that there are initials that are needed. The seller does need to sign this offer. So again, the counter offers, if there's counter offers, make sure that the seller signs all of the pages of the original offer. And this includes the acceptance. Everyone following on that one? Yes, thumbs up, thumbs down. Let me know. Okay, great.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Now how to present offers. Sometimes there's actually some scripts of best ways of presenting an offer. Even what are some scripts around presenting lowball offers? Even though you know it, I would, as a listing agent, try to talk to the buyer's agent and try to find out information about the buyer. Again, kind of asking them questions about the buyer and building that rapport with the buyer's agent. And when you're talking or presenting to the offer to your client or offers, you definitely want to keep the tone positive as possible at all times, regardless of what the offers look like. Never criticize the buyer, the agent, or their offer to your seller. That is absolutely key. You are the professional. You set the tone of how this transaction is gonna work. If you start kind of complaining about that other agent to the seller, how's that going to be perceived by the seller as far as this transaction or the other side? If you start kind of criticizing them. What do you think from a seller's perspective? Any thoughts, comments?
You might do the same. I mean, it's just not a good look.
Yes, and then will it feel like the transaction at that point if they end up deciding to choose that offer? How's that transaction going to feel like to the seller, or could feel like to the seller? Does it feel like it would be starting off as a smooth transaction at that point?
Not at all. Choppy.
Yeah. So regardless of what your opinion is, you can present facts and their options, but really keep it professional. You could talk to your coach or something, but as far as your clients, really keep the tone positive as possible throughout the conversation. Because again, remember, their emotions are high. So there are some scripts on page 22 and 23 as far as scripts around presenting a low offer, how to present initial offers to the seller, recommend your client to accept an offer, how to have that conversation. There's actually kind of a script on there. As well as how to recommend making counter offers for the seller, especially if there's multiple offers. Like, it can be very overwhelming for the seller. So how do you have those conversations or initiate those conversations with the other side while keeping a positive, calm tone, just presenting all offers? It's really, again, it's negotiating not with just the other side, but also it is kind of having negotiations with your client. On 24, it talks about how to respond to the offer. Again, the offers have expiration dates, so please be mindful of that. Now, if you are presenting offers like all at once, just remind the agent on the other side and your seller. And there's also on page 24, having how to present the counteroffer to the other agent. And again, it's about building rapport, and especially if there's an offer that sticks out, you definitely want to start building that rapport with the other side. It makes the transaction, can make it as smooth as possible. So, any questions or comments on that? Now, this part has to do with, so let me kind of go back. Is setting the stage to have a positive negotiation with the other side, especially if there's multiple offers. How do you set that stage? Because again, you're already starting to develop that negotiating. And so there are some tips on page 26 of setting the stage for positive negotiations. So kind of doing that, setting that stage. And what I like to always emphasize is the customer experience of really kind of taking the values of Keller Williams and really kind of implement it here into the transaction. And so this is a reminder of the values. Now, the value actually has been updated. The values have been updated. There actually is an additional value that they've added this year. I think it's E. There's an E in here. Now I can't remember off the top of my head, but this has been updated to include equality. So there's a value that has been added, a quality that's been added here as far as the customer experience. But I like to make sure that when I'm negotiating, I'm actually kind of thinking about these values to make it a win-win for everyone involved, not just for the buyer through the seller. It's also with the other agent. It's with all the parties in the transaction. Now, am I going to always get that from the other side? Not necessarily, but I like to make sure I am practicing that. So it is focusing on the Keller Williams core beliefs, and it can actually come a long way. So questions about this part? Now, so this is part of making and receiving offers. I want to show you how does this look like in command. So I'm going to actually show you really, as far as an agent, how this works in command a little bit, as far as how to input the offers in command for you when you represent a buyer or if you represent the seller, so that you understand. Because this part of command is actually falls on the agent responsibility and not necessarily your transaction coordinator. So you still need to do this part in command. So I'm going to switch gears. And I am going to pull up command. So before the making and receiving offers stage of representing a buyer or representing a seller, you should already have two things in command for those clients that you have signed agreements for. First off, they should be a contact in command. And I would recommend that you actually have their full name, their phone number, their email address, and their mailing address if they're already at this stage kind of the flow of a transaction with you. The second thing is that there should be an opportunity at this point. So if you have a signed listing agreement, or if you have a signed BRE, they should already be here as an opportunity, because that helps the transaction coordinator load the documents, load the contracts for compliance in command. So if you represent a buyer, for instance, so say you have a buyer, so normally they would be here, and it would be kind of like this, negotiations. Everyone see that? So they would be in an active phase negotiation stage. So if I click on that, oh, that's not mine. Hold on, let me look at, go back, go to mine. Okay. So here I have one, it's Manny Ignite, and he's in my negotiation stage. This means that we are negotiating offers. So I already created the details for him. Notice that he's a contact in my command database. And this is a buyer opportunity. So if I am writing offers or submitting offers, I have to go and into the details of the opportunity and choose offers. So here, I'll choose offer, I'll add an offer. And how I like to say this is offer for, and then kind of the property number and address. So 1234 Main Street, and create offer. And this is just a summary. This is not actually writing the contract. This is just highlights the key points of the offer you're submitting. When was the offer date? I'll say today. Close date, I'll just say around the 18th a month. And then you can actually select the property here from the MLS. So select KWLS. I want to show all properties. And I don't have an offer off the top of my, I don't have an address off the top of my head. Hold on, let me take a look at what's the one we were looking at. So Raymond, I'll do this one that we were looking at earlier. So I'll just do this and hit search. So I think it's this one. Yeah, I believe it's this one, 6402. Let me just double check. Nope. 7504. And this is not always brings up everything. So I'm going to make sure I choose status for sale. There it is. So all listing status for sale. So there's the one I'm looking at. So I'll hit select, and I'm going to actually change the name. 2850. And it's number 6, I believe. Yep, number 6. So there it is. That's the address. So I'll just hit next. You can write the seller's name. I think this is a trust. Can't remember. I'll just put seller. And notice that if you pull in the MLS information, it automatically brings the associate's, the listing agent's name. There's my info because this is for my buyer. And then terms, 264. Okay. So here it's like cash and then the finance amount. I know the finance amount, I'm just gonna say this is a kind of like a VA loan. So finance amount, and then this is usually the down payment. I'll just say 240. And then the down payment is $20,000. And then that's the sales price. I'm making it 260. 265. Earnest money, that's the initial deposit. So typically that's like 1 to 3% of the purchase price. So I'm just gonna put 3,000. Option fee, I kind of skip all of these. And then I go to agent analysis. And you can put summaries of your offer here as the buyer's agent. You could put a summary here if you want, but this is more for you. So I'm just gonna hit save. Now, so notice that it's kind of keeping track in my buyer's timeline that they submitted an offer. Now, what you can do is if you hit accept, that means that it got accepted. If it got rejected, you hit reject. But how to add a counter offer in command for, again, this is my buyer, so I'm the buyer's agent. I'll say, okay, I'm gonna add, there was a counter offer, a seller counter offer. So I'll hit add negotiation. And here, what I like to do is I just say seller or SCO1, and then I put the date. So maybe they gave a counter offer, say we're in the future, and they gave a counter offer and it was dated tomorrow, okay? Then I go next, and it goes through the same process again, like the exact same. So I'll just say, the parties are the same, the property information is the same. So I'll just hit close date, actually, I think is still the 18th or 21st. I'll hit save. And it adds kind of the negotiation. I think I did this wrong, hold on. Oh, I have to go to parties. So parties, it's the same terms. Most likely the terms are different on a counter offer. So say that the purchase price, they want to go higher. So I'm going to just change the amount of the finance. They want to go to 275. And I like to put a summary here of what those changes are. Seller does not want to pay for buyer's credit, loan, inspection, contingency, 10 days after acceptance. Again, more information for you. And so you'll notice then you have negotiations here. And then if there's another counter, you just keep adding until then it is accepted or rejected. Everyone see that? So if it got rejected, then I'll just say rejected at that point. Now, why is this important? You can actually track how many offers that you are presenting for your clients. And if the system has enough data, it can maybe start pulling trends of your clients. So say, for instance, you will notice that if your buyers get to this stage, but on average, your buyers actually write 3 offers, you know, or 3 offers and then counter offers, then you know that could be something you can work on as far as how do you make your offer stronger or have a discussion. Or say, for instance, your buyer that you've been working for a few months have submitted 5 offers, or let me see. They worked with you for 2 months. They submitted 10 offers that were not accepted. Now, as an agent, if you knew that information or kept track of that, what would be the next step for you when you're talking to your buyers? What does that give you? What information does that give you about buyers that have submitted 10 offers? No acceptance.
To
That they're not aware of, sorry.
Go ahead. Denise?
to reevaluate their like the things that they really want. Like
Mhm.
they're probably not doing, strong offers or things like that. Like they need to reevaluate the way that they're bringing the offers to the sellers.
Yep. What else? What is a kind of something else that you as the buyer's agent kind of need to have, maybe be aware of your buyers?
That they're maybe not aware of what's happening in the market, and that you maybe need to show them more stats and just show them what offers were accepted on the properties that they've already offered on, so they can see a pattern.
Yeah, so they can see a pattern, have to be aware of the market. And one more.
Price point that they're typically shooting for.
Yeah, maybe they're shooting for a really high price point that they just keep getting outbid. So maybe the search or discussion needs they need to probably look adjust their search to look for something kind of within their budget, that if they find something they absolutely love, like something below their budget, that then they can go over and feel confident they're not spending more money. So again, and then by 10 offers, how do you think the buyers feel at that point of 10 offers and not accepted? What do you think of their mindset?
Probably feeling a bit deflated, negative.
Yeah.
Not understanding why.
Correct. So at that point, again, it's a kind of feedback or discussion that you need to have. So this is how you do it as a buyer's agent. Let me kind of quickly show you. We have a few more minutes. Quickly show you what you need to do if you're the listing side. So here, again, under active, you would have like review offers or negotiations. So then offers, you would probably want the offer here. Now, there's actually a quick tip on this one. So if you're the listing agent, you can tie your listing to command. So how you do that is, as a listing agent, you'll notice in the opportunity, you have select from listings. So say I'll look at all listings for sale. Anybody know of a property in our market center, just really off the top, that's active right now? Anybody? No? Let me go back really quick. Let me see if I can pull something up.
There's a townhouse in La Jolla at 3416 Via Alicante.
3416 Via, how do you spell it?
Via Alicante, ALCANTE.
Oh, that's right. This is Corey's.
Yeah.
Okay. 3416 Via VIA Alicante. Oh,
I think you
sorry.
put in 3146.
3146.
I think she said 3416.
Oh, sorry, 3416. Let's see. Oh, there it is. Perfect. So say I attach it to here. Let me kind of give you a really neat thing. And if you want, you can have the buyer's agent fill this out for you. Is if you're the listing agent and you tie your listing here in command, you actually have this button, generate offer URL. So if you hit generate offer URL, you're going to get this listing offer. And what it is Come on. Is it gives you kind of this landing page where the buyer's agent, they still have to submit a RPA, but have the buyer's agent fill out this information for you. So then you can have contract create date, when the closing date is, amount. You know, some of this they might not, just the ones in asterisks are required. What are the terms? The property address, it says up here, but I think it's kind of grayed out because it knows it's for this one. It puts it does put the seller's name. So maybe you don't want to give this because it puts the seller's name on here. But maybe you just, if you don't put the seller's email address on the thing, then you can just, that can be left blank. And then they would have to submit this. I didn't realize that they put the seller's email, so I probably wouldn't want that. But this is a way to have the buyer's agent fill this out for you. Otherwise, then you are, again, going through adding the offers in this command. But instead of the property address, I would say offer from buyer Rose Gomez, and create offer, and then it go through the same process as what I showed before. Does everyone see that? This is what you do need to have set up in command once you have like an accepted offer. But I would help track, because if you're able to track all the offers here for each of your listings, again, command can then kind of collectively see what your stats are, that for every listing that you have an average of like 5 offers. So then it can help you, give you details about your business. Sorry, I'm just filling this out. Terms. Okay. And again, the process again is the same as well, whether you accept, add negotiations, or reject. So any questions on that? So I wanted to show, kind of give you an idea of like really that flow of not only making and receiving offers, but how do we track that in command as well? So here is a great quote from Mo. One of the most important fundamentals in business, as well as within one's personal life, is the decision to not only make commitments, but keep them. And that really is kind of key in writing or making and receiving offers. So as we kind of wrap up, going through this process, what ahas can you share from a couple of people? What ahas can you share from today's class? Kyle, would you like to share? What did you learn today? Or what was a kind of a big aha for you?
I guess just, I mean, there's a lot of intricate details that go into presenting offers and to both sides, and it's a lot of information. I'm definitely going to watch this again just because I felt like, yeah, there's just so many little nuances that I didn't know about, especially from just finishing up, you know, the whole studying process for the exam and everything. It's so different from the actual real practice. You know,
Oh, yes.
they don't get into the details of it as
Yes.
much, which, yeah, so there's definitely a lot of work to be done still. That's
Yeah.
to learn for sure.
Yeah, this is a great kind of overview, but I want to keep in mind when you are studying for this, you got to almost not remember all this part and just study what you're learning to pass the exam. So great. So one more from anyone else, just one more aha. I know that others had left.
I guess it's just, for me, it would be to stay positive and to try and keep your clients as informed as possible, so that hopefully they don't get in a position that they're making 10 offers that get rejected.
Mm-hmm.
That you can give them as much information and knowledge on the market and help them come to an understanding of where they need to be on price point and their offer.
Yep. Great. Thank you. Well, I hope this was informative. And again, it is going to be on the Metro page. So hopefully that for those of you that wanted those questions or the email template as far as submitting an offer, please email me at clarissa.kurtz@kw.com, and I will be happy to send it to you before the end of the day today. So thank you. I appreciate you for being all here. Thank you so much. Just a reminder, there is going to be a, I think at 12:30 with one of our sponsors, Eric Gilman, kind of talking about some lead generation tips, as well as at 1:30, we have our team meeting, and it's our risk management team meeting with Broker Bob. And that's always informative as far as what are ways to kind of keep us out of court. So thank you all for being here, and make it a great day.
Thank you,
Bye now.
Clarissa.